to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Come on along, welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Thursday. Welcome in. Dustin Schutte sitting in with us from Saturday Tradition. Dustin, how's it going?
Hey, we got a Big Ten schedule. We got a Big Ten football season. It couldn't get much better than what it is right now, Jim.
Absolutely. Kirk Haston, former IU basketball player and Tennessee legislator, joined us today. He's been on several times, a frequent guest of the show. He's a great, what a character. Kirk Haston is a character. I know you're not that familiar with him, but he's a funny dude, man. We play the thing that I play every year when the Derby rolls around. He was a guest on the show one time, and he did just an unbelievably funny. He calls his own race with his own horse's name, and it was nuts. And the horse's name was Hoof. If you do that fast, you'll figure it out. But this was a great character. Looking forward to having him on. Some sad news yesterday. Gale Sayers, one of the greats, just NFL greats, one of the great humans of our lifetime. Forget football player. He was just a great human, but what a great football player. I as a kid, Brian's song was like the first thing that stuck to me, I guess because the emotion, it was sports, it was emotional, and his best friend, Brian Piccolo, that died of cancer. Were they teammates on the Bears at that time? They were teammates on the Bears then, right?
I'm gonna date myself there because you don't know anything about. Oh my God,
you don't know about Brian's song. You cover football and you don't know. Oh, my God. Oh, gee whiz. Boy, I hope your Twitter gets blown up with some embarrassing tweets. Man.
Hey, I don't need any help with that, so I don't know if we need to I don't know if we need to provocate anybody to do that, but yeah, that's going to predate me a little bit. I've seen the highlight films of Gale Sayers and know all about him and have read up on him. But as far as actually seeing him play and knowing the impact he had on the NFL, I mean, I've read a ton of stuff. But yeah, I'm just a little before my time there.
Hey, Indiana entered Stage 5 starting this Saturday from the governor yesterday. That's just got to be great news all the way around. Sporting events, bars, restaurants. I mean, you still have to be smart here. Let's wear a mask. Let's social distance. But it's starting to loosen up. But that does not mean become stupid again, people. Wear your mask. That is the deal right there. All this other stuff, I'm sure that there's some possibilities there. But the mask, that's the deal, man. If people would just wear their mask, well, you'd sure see, I think, a great reduction in this. But sports, that's going to be a huge impact because there's some high schools that are allowing maybe parents in only. I know that for my daughter's soccer, we've had to balance how many you get, and hopefully that starts to loosen up. More importantly, bars and restaurants can start to welcome more people in and maybe have some normalcy. Watch some sports at a bar, and things like that. So it's big for the state of Indiana, Dustin. I mean, it's big for everybody. You can do it, but right now, Indiana is moving to Stage 5. It's great.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how this works out for like the Indianapolis Colts, and it's not going to change anything from the Big Ten perspective because they're not going to allow any fans outside of just family and close friends this season, and that's going to be a league-wide thing. They're not leaving it up to the states or the schools. But I think what it does allow is potentially for, hey, you got a couple of your buddies. We're typically tailgating in Bloomington on a Saturday afternoon. Let's hit up a restaurant. Let's hit up a bar. Let's support some of these local businesses. Go watch the Indiana game or go watch the Purdue game. And so it's not going to be the same feel, but I think it does allow that opportunity for these college towns that have lost so much, some of these local businesses in places like West Lafayette and Bloomington, to have some sort of allure and say, hey, we know you're going to miss tailgating. We know you're not going to be able to go to the game, but come over. Like you said, Jim, be safe, be smart. And let's do this the right way and have a good time, and we can all watch the game together. And it won't be quite the same, but I think that this could have a really good impact for some of these college towns. And let's not forget even downtown Indianapolis. I mean, there's a lot of restaurants and bars in downtown Indianapolis that welcome in a ton of Colts fans on every Sunday or Monday night. And so I think that that's going to have a huge impact as well. So it's really good to see, like you said, hopefully people are safe, hopefully they're smart, and this will continue to go in a positive direction. And Indiana maybe can set the standard across the Midwest.
That would be something. An oddity I saw. I saw this recently, but New Jersey, they have banned the use of whips in thoroughbred horse racing, which is a joke because these whips, they don't even do anything. They just get their attention. But they have completely banned the use of them there, which we've got tracks all around our listening area. There's Indiana Downs up there, and you've got down in Henderson, Kentucky, which is basically a piece of Evansville, and of course down in southern Indiana by Louisville. So a lot of tracks around here. But that's the weirdest, stupidest, most liberal thing I've ever heard in my life. It's just ridiculously ridiculous.
Are you big horse better? Like, there's not much.
No,
stuff
not
that
big,
I trust.
but not big. But I've been around them all my life, so
There's not much in my life that I'm like a big gambler on because I don't trust myself. I would lose a ton of money if that was the case. But that's one thing I've never been to a horse race. I need to get past the Indiana Downs. I've been around the Churchill Downs and Kentucky Downs, but I've never actually been to a horse race. So that's a bucket list item for me.
You got them all around you. You have to. You just got to go to the Derby then if you haven't done that. That's like saying I haven't been to a race and you got to go to the Indy 500. But yeah, it's. I'll tell you the funniest thing I ever saw though was I was in Montana once and I was at a quarter horse racing track. It's completely different. All these guys do a sprint, and it is faster than you can believe, and they're all together. It's crazy. They all hit the wire together. It's nuts. It's like, wow, fun stuff. But hey, Bryce Hopkins, big-time target for Indiana on the basketball side. He's got a top 5 coming soon. We'll talk to Alec Lasley about that tomorrow from the Hoosier.com as he'll join us. We'll talk about Indiana basketball recruiting, get caught up on that. I saw that there's obviously a lot of trouble going on down in Louisville, Kentucky, with the Breonna Taylor result coming out last night. And sports-wise, I saw that Central High School, and I'm sure that there may be other high schools, are having to adjust their sports schedule. Man, Central is moving their game to Brandenburg, Kentucky, which is about 45 minutes west of town. So I don't know if they're going to be able to do this. I know they have a curfew down there. That's in effect. And that will continue tomorrow night. So I don't know how high school football is going to be affected down there. But it's sad all the way around. But hopefully they get things together and get that town back in one piece sometime soon.
Yeah, and that's probably something, a lot of people are upset and understandably so. And, that's a situation where you just, you hope everybody continues to be safe and things progress in the sense that there's a little bit more peace. But we don't expect any of this to go away. And they've been demonstrating for over 100 days, I think maybe 120 or something like that. So there's a lot of frustration, a lot of anger. And it's probably going to continue through the weekend. So these high schools are going to have tough decisions to make. Obviously, that's not going to be the most important thing in Louisville right now, but we just hope everybody stays safe down there, and exercise your rights, but keep it peaceful and don't get too crazy down there, which I know some things got really out of hand last night already.
Yeah, John Rothstein reported yesterday that the ACC Big Ten Challenge is moving forward with a plan that it be played on campus. Current target date is set for December 8th and 9th. Does that need played on one campus or played on individual campuses? I don't know. It will be interesting to see how that shakes out because we've got so many of these preseason basketball tournaments that are going to be bubbleized. Ooh, did I just create
bubbleized? I like that.
Did I just coin a new phrase? You've been bubbleized. I did. Oh my goodness. Let's give me some credit. Bubbleized. But so it's a positive when you see the plans for anything like that. So looking forward to that. Last night, Caleb Berger, he made his first major league start for the Giants. Congratulations to him. Several Indiana former baseball players doing well this year. Alec Richardson is with the Giants as well. But we'll talk about Kyle Schwarber, he's gotten the ire of his manager a while back when he got taken out of a game and it's his former teammate, no less, for not hustling after a ball. But they're trying to make some changes there up there in Chicago. So David Ellis is going to be a key point this year, Dustin, in Indiana's offense, football-wise, and he's a unique guy because you think of him, he came in as a receiver, but he's worked in the backfield, and that may be where he kind of really makes his bones this year. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, they've already got a loaded running back room, so is it going to be something where he's maybe potentially a hybrid position? You know,
yeah, I think so. I do. I mean, I think it's something that they have been able to work in like that.
And you look at like Ohio State, who's been able to make the H-back position work so well. You think back to Curtis Samuel and what they've done with, you know, a guy like Demario McCall, and they've been able to rotate that kind of stuff and work these guys into these hybrid positions. And I think that that's kind of the growing trend, and especially in an offense like Indiana's, where it seems like they've loaded up at the wide receiver, they've loaded up at the running back position, and they've got a up-tempo. I don't want to call it Ohio State-like because I think that would be a little bit too optimistic, but it's similar in the fact that they want to spread the ball out. They want to get the ball in the hands of their playmaker, want to move quickly. That's what Ohio State does. So I think that it's not like Tom Allen is stealing, you know, Ryan Day's offense or anything like that. Don't get me wrong there. But it's almost like they're trying to mirror that and say, hey, this is what up-tempo style looks like. And you go back to the Joe Moorhead days at Penn State, that's what they did, and that was successful. That won them a Big Ten title in 2016. Obviously, Ohio State's won 3 straight Big Ten titles. So it's something to consider right now. And when look, Indiana's getting a ton of athletes, and the offensive and defensive side of the ball, and you've seen, you know, guys like Reese Taylor, who came in, you know, he was a quarterback at the high school level, and he's transitioned nicely to the defensive side of the football as a defensive back. So I think it's unique. I think it's really fun that Tom Allen is trying to get more athletes on the field, and you know, if they come in as a wide receiver and he thinks they're going to be better suited for defensive back or running back, he's not afraid to make those changes, and I think that that's a really good sign, because in a place like Indiana, it doesn't matter what you come in as. If you're going to be able to contribute, if you're one of the best athletes on that roster, Tom Allen's going to find a way to get you into the game.
That has been the case for a long time. A lot of people don't understand. Guys come to college, it does not matter what they played in high school. They recruit athletes. And man, oh man, people get moved all the time. They get moved from offense to defense. They get moved from – you've seen guys get moved from quarterback to tight end. I mean, crazy things. But athletes. It's athletes. And they will put you in the best position. They will teach you how to play that position. But it's just weird how – they can see that, and as a player, you never would have thought that, playing this position. Wow. Because all the time, you hear the players say, yeah, I never would have thought of that, but yeah, it's working out. But it's a chess game, basically. You recruit these athletes, and then you have to play chess with it and get them in the right spot. And the team that does the best job of that, obviously, is going to be more successful. But Indiana really coming around with that. Go ahead.
And I was going to say that, you know, the other aspect of that too, and something that a lot of people don't really talk about, is you have to recruit the players that not only are versatile and who are the best athletes, but you have to recruit them in a sense that they have that kind of mentality where, hey, if this is the best way I can get on the field, then this is what I'm going to do. You see a lot of kids that'll come in and say, hey, I'm a wide receiver. I want to play wide receiver. And if I'm not going to do that here at, you know, whatever the school, Indiana, Purdue, then I'm going to transfer somewhere else where I'm going to play wide receiver. So there has to be a willingness to learn other positions, a willingness to put the team ahead of yourself. And I think by and large, most student athletes are doing that. But you have to also locate those guys and say, hey, you know, is this going to be a guy who's going to be okay with moving from quarterback to defensive back? Or is he going to be okay with moving from linebacker to you know, tight end or whatever the case might be? So I think Tom Allen does a really good job. There's a lot of coaches in the Big Ten that do a good job, but he does a really good job of finding those guys that aren't just great athletes, but they're also great team contributors and are willing to learn those other positions, even though, you know, maybe that's not what they thought they would be playing at the next level.
You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. Dustin Shooting from Sunday Tradition City. I'm Jim Coyle. We've got Kirk Haston, former IU player, coming up next, and we'll be back with that from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you will find complete coverage of Indiana sports and recruiting news, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience. You can find it any place you podcast or right here on this station each weekday. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Call your local station and tell them you want Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
No matter where you are in life, here's a question to consider. Do you have the right financial advisor to help you navigate where you want to go? An Ameriprise advisor will take the time to truly understand what's important to you and help you prepare for whatever life brings, both the expected and the unexpected, by providing personalized advice based on your goals and needs, and regular reviews along with digital tools to help you stay on track. With an Ameriprise advisor, you can feel more confident, connected, and in control of your financial life. Call Dennis Schneider, Heath Schneider, or Nick Davis with Schneider & Associates, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services. Call 877-827-1404. That's 877-827-1404. See Dennis Schneider at 236 North Elm Street in Henderson and Heath Schneider or Nick Davis at 20 East Campground Road in Evansville. Ameriprise Financial Services, LLC. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
This Thursday, now joined by, I always say a lot, and it's like, it's one of our favorite guests. I can absolutely say our absolute favorite guest, Kirk Haston, joining us today. Kirk, how you doing, brother?
Thanks. Appreciate you having me on. That's a lot of pressure to live up to each time, though.
Well, you know what? You always do, so I'm not worried about it. And good job to Will there. We were talking in the break coming in, and you were talking about how much you were having a bunch of rain. And boy, did you accidentally have that play, Will, or did you cue that? Because I'll give you credit.
I did not have that planned.
That's pretty quick thinking, so I'm going to give you up. But Kirk said you guys got a lot of rain down there. I hope you guys are staying dry. But coronavirus has been crazy, and you're a teacher, you're a coach, man, oh, man, and a family man. You got the triple crown going right now, things you got to worry about.
Yeah, we've got a lot going on. 3 kids in school. We don't have the greatest internet connection in the world in my rural county, so we're a brick and mortar school, as they're calling it these days. So we're back full force in the schools. It's been going pretty good so far. I think masks are the new kids' accessories, so they're embracing it pretty well. But we're doing as best we can with it.
Absolutely, and like I said, with someone like yourself who has 3 different deals to worry about. You got your family, your students, and you're a coach. Coaching has been really difficult. We've seen that with Big Ten football, in and out, and practicing, not practicing. How's that affected you guys, and how have you been able to manage it?
So far it's been business as usual. I think that I think having athletics is just such a vital part of these kids' lives that I think that we have to fight to make sure that they're able to have that opportunity to do so. They've already had most of these kids had a lot of their seasons taken away from them already, and everybody's trying to operate in a safe capacity as possible. When we get into basketball season, there's going to be a reduction of fans, and so far the football season has been going pretty smoothly. They've had a couple of teams have to cancel for cases, but it's just adapt and conquer. That's all you can try to do right now.
Yeah, that certainly is. And then on top of that, you're a legislator, so you've got that to deal with. And I can only imagine, as being in the government, my gosh, what that has to be doing right now and the kind of time that takes.
Yeah, we just had a couple of meetings the past couple of days dealing with. I'm on the education committee and serve as the vice chair on that committee, and it's an endless rabbit hole of issues that you're going down trying to figure out. And as with a lot of things, whatever decision you end up going with or trying to make, there's going to be 20 to 40% that's going to think you're an idiot for doing that. There's going to be 40 to 60% that think that you're great for doing it, and there's going to be the rest of them just hate you no matter what. So it's sometimes kind of thankless, but so far I think we've done some correct things. We've had some missteps along the way, but I think everybody is trying to do this on the fly. It's pretty tough.
Absolutely. At least you haven't been bubbleized
No.
yet. I'm going to have to get that word in all day long. But so now we got basketball coming, at least. We got Big Ten basketball coming this year. Hopefully Indiana looking good. I've seen a lot of prognostications. Big Ten is going to be really, really tough this year, Kirk. There are like 8 teams or maybe 9 that are legitimately top 25 style teams.
Yeah, I hope we get a chance to see this thing go all the way through. I thought that as much as I'm not a Michigan State fan, I did feel a little bit bad for Dane Fife last year because I thought that I thought that they had a team that was really peaking at the right time for an interesting tournament run. But yeah, I have some high hopes this year that the Big Ten is well accorded, especially Indiana.
And he happens to be wearing his Indiana Bob Knight jacket. I call it the Bob Knight jacket. And last year when Coach Knight came back, they gave him out to the players, and it's just coincidence. But, man, what a special time that had to be. I can't remember. I think you've been on one since then. But getting all those guys together at that moment, what a great, great moment that was.
It was my favorite part. I mean, going onto the court, of course, it was the main highlight. But being able to – They treated our wives really well. They invited our spouses to come, and so we took a big group picture there with Coach Knight, all the players, and as soon as we got done with that picture, he was like, I think the wives need a picture with Coach too. And so we had to get everybody in there, and we all wanted to do that, but you never, you always don't know how to ask, but so Coach Knight kind of broke the ice and. He got us all around him, and he told us. He said, boys, anytime I go out, I tell people all the time about how lucky I was to have so many great players that played for me, and just how respectful and how incredible that they all were to have as players. And he paused and he looked at us. He said, "I know y'all say the exact same words about me when you talk to others about playing for me." And so that was it felt like old times. We really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and the funny thing is all the talk, this, that, and the other thing, and of course we know that the Coach Knight is his health is not what we wished it would be. But the funny thing is, through all that, the one thing that kept seeming to rise to the top, whether it was at the Bluebird last year when he did that, it was his players. That the one thing that seems to be stuck in his head was his players, and that continues to come through for me. That boy, he's not lost that.
Yeah, that relationship, I think will always be there, and it's a connection that I'm proud to have been a part of, and it really was a nice family moment having him to come back, and I thought it was very cathartic for all of Indiana basketball, but I thought it was really cathartic for Coach Knight as well.
Absolutely. Is that something that you hope we see more of as far as the group, the IU basketball family, as we go forward? Because there hasn't been, I know you guys get together, but that one was different. Of course, it was different with Coach Knight involved, but it seems to be more of a closure kind of a thing, bringing guys back together.
Yeah, it had gotten a bit disjointed. It felt like. I think that they've been doing a really good job the last few years trying to have a Indiana men's basketball reunion. They've had some dinners and some golf tournaments, and I think that I hope that can grow and snowball a bit, because every one of those events just is really special, and you want to really have that camaraderie, and you want to have that family tie to your school, because there's not that many of us out there. I was telling somebody the other day, it was right after the OG Anunoby shot, is Indiana went through, I can't remember exactly what happened, but there was a player or two that got in trouble about the time that Anunoby was a freshman, I think. I don't think it was him, but I just remember that
Devin Davis and those guys.
Yeah, right. And so we, in the mail, a lot of the alumni, I think all the former basketball players had gotten a letter from each player, I guess, probably got assigned about 10 or 20 players to write personally. And I just got, I didn't really know him at the time because he really wasn't who he was, but mine was from OG Anunoby. So I've got this handwritten letter apologizing and saying that that's not what Indiana stands for. And I just think, that connection of them even caring about reaching out to players of the past to say, like, listen, we're concerned about our image and concerned about what you guys think about us. And that meant a lot. And to go on with that story, I was watching PTI right after those letters went out, and they talked about it on PTI, and Wilbon and Kornheiser were talking about it. And so as they're going to commercial, Kornheiser goes, "Yeah, they sent letters out to former players." He goes, "I wonder if Kirk Haston got one. I'm just wondering if he got one." Out of nowhere. Yeah. It was crazy. So he gave me a little mini shout out as they were going to commercial break. And I've listened to his show for years, and I've emailed a couple of times, so that's probably where it came from. But I thought it was so cool that he made sure to kind of work my name into the story at the very end. And so
you should have tweeted at him and said, "Yes, I got a letter, and I'll read it to you sometime if you'll bring me on the show." That's incredible.
That was pretty neat.
That's why Kirk Haston is the best guy, our favorite guest. Every time, it's just amazing. That I didn't even know that nugget. That is very cool that they did that. Did you talk to any other former players? If you did, what was the thought about it?
I can't remember. I think it came up at the golf tournament that year.
In Fritz Lake?
I think, yeah, I think that that may have been the year that actually we had it still in Bloomington, because we've gone back and forth on both of those sites. But it just, I know personally it meant a lot to me that they would take the time to do that, and they're just doing a lot more. I think they've been really good in recent years about reaching out to former players, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, me too. It's great to see. The next thing I want to see is the TBT team, Kurt. I know that's you were way too busy with what's on your plate, but we've got a lot of former players on here all the time. I'm like, you guys got to get together and get an IU alumni TB team out there.
Oh my word! I think that's a pretty good idea. I think that I could maybe help in a coaching capacity.
There we go. That's what I'm talking. Well, I know you're busy. What you got coming up? I know you got a full day of school, looks like today. But how's your week set? What's next for you guys? Basketball starting soon for you, I would imagine.
Yeah, we've got a few more weeks. Probably what's immediately on my calendar is my son is in 6th grade now, and so his middle school season starts up pretty soon, and so we're getting him geared up, and I'm more of his personal coach these days, and I'm probably a lot of other things, but just working with him and getting him ready, and he's got a lot better ball handling skills than I. He's more of a guard. He's the point guard, so it's very strange. My middle son is a post guy, so I feel I can work with him. And Kenner, my oldest son, kind of shows me what to do a little bit more than I show him what to do. So just getting geared up for that stuff, and hope everything stays as normal. possible.
Well, man, I cannot thank you enough. Kirk Hasen is our absolute favorite guest. He is a great man, family man, legislator, teacher, a former IU basketball player, and a future governor of Tennessee, as I tell him every time he's on here. But I can't thank you enough as always.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Y'all have a great day.
You too, buddy. Thank you so much. Kirk Hasen, former IU basketball player, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. He is he's the best, Dustin. I'm telling you, he's just a great person. I mean, when I talked about Gale Sayers, when he passed away, that he's just a great human. Kirk Hasen is just a good person. Seriously. I mean, you're not going to meet a better person. And I just listed all those. He's a teacher, a legislator, a family man. He's a Renaissance man is what he is. But he's the guy that he's just an awesome dude.
And you look at everything that's on his plate right now, and considering everything that's going on in the world, he takes time out of his day to give us
all the time.
15, 20 minutes of an interview, and he's, he doesn't sound frustrated or flustered or tired
Engaged.
or anything. And I'm sure he's just exhausted right now because, when you mention everything, that you just talked about, coaching, teaching, legislating, all that stuff has been hit, family, all that stuff's been hit extremely hard with the pandemic and everything else going on in the world. So I'm sure he's gotten very little sleep over the last 6 months, but just a great interview, and I look forward to talking with him too in the future down the road and getting to know him a little bit better.
Man, if I could have him on every day, oh my gosh, it would just be the greatest thing in the world. He's awesome. But we got a lot of stuff coming up. Bryce Hopkins has got his top 5 coming this weekend. We'll talk to Alec Lasley about that tomorrow. It's basketball. I know you don't follow it toughly, but Bryce Hopkins decommitted from Louisville. Kentucky's in there deep. I think he's going to end up at a Kentucky or someplace. I don't see him at Indiana. Indiana might make his top 5. I'm not sure, but I don't see him ending up here regardless either way. But that's just my opinion. We'll talk to Alec about that tomorrow. Recruiting-wise, football's kind of quiet. Dustin, the NCAA shutting down the visits, I don't see that changing anytime soon. So, and I'm not saying it's not going to change ever, but it's not going to change anytime. I don't think so. Maybe 6 months into 2021, if it changes in 2021.
Yeah, I think what you're probably looking at, and what I would assume a lot of coaches are hoping for at this point, is maybe to get some of the recruits, some of the targets, maybe on campus for the spring game, for their spring games or their spring practices in 2021. That's assuming that you're going to have a normal spring practice and you're going to start the 2021 fall season without any hitches or anything. But yeah, I mean, the NCAA has already said that we're going to continue this dead period through basically the new year. So you're not going to get any recruits on campus, whether it's, during school or for a game or anything like that. So it's going to have to be all virtual, and coaches are going to have to continue to be creative. I mean, a lot of these schools in the Big Ten, you look at Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, you know what they're selling. They're selling a good program. They're selling getting to the NFL draft or getting selected in the NFL draft and moving on to the next level. So Indiana's going to have to get a little bit more creative. Now, obviously, they finished last season on a good note. They go 8-5. They could have had a huge momentum boost if they would have won that Gator Bowl, which I'm sure is just haunting for all of those players having to sit on that for 8 or 9 months. But, like I say this repeatedly, Bloomington's a great campus, especially this time of year, and not having students be able to get onto the campus is a big disadvantage for Indiana. But again, you've got guys like Tywan Mullen, you have guys like Michael Penix and Stevie Scott who are promoting Indiana and letting people know that, hey, you can come to Indiana, you can get to the next level. So it's just going to be interesting. And it's going to be interesting to see how this changes when games start too, because if Indiana can start off hot, or if they have another good season, another winning record, that's obviously going to start to interest a lot more recruits as well.
Speaking of recruits, when we come back, one of the things we'll talk about is how do you recruit now with the NCAA granting an automatic year of eligibility to all players, basically 5 years now of eligibility. that is going to change recruiting. Even though it's just for this year, that will be a ripple effect in recruiting that just like throwing a rock in the water, it just goes and goes. We'll talk about that when we come back. Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition sitting in with us here. I'm Jim Coyle. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. We're back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you will find complete coverage of Indiana sports and recruiting news, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience. You can find it any place you podcast or right here on this station each weekday. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Call your local station and tell them you want Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
No matter where you are in life, here's a question to consider. Do you have the right financial advisor to help you navigate where you want to go? An Ameriprise advisor will take the time to truly understand what's important to you and help you prepare for whatever life brings, both the expected and the unexpected, by providing personalized advice based on your goals and needs, and regular reviews along with digital tools to help you stay on track. With an Ameriprise advisor, you can feel more confident, connected, and in control of your financial life. Call Dennis Schneider, Heath Schneider, or Nick Davis with Schneider & Associates, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services. Call 877-827-1404. That's 877-827-1404. See Dennis Schneider at 236 North Elm Street in Henderson and Heath Schneider or Nick Davis at 20 East Campground Road in Evansville. Ameriprise Financial Services, LLC. Member FINRA and SIPC.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. It's Thursday. Dustin Schutte sitting in from Saturday Tradition. Dustin, a couple of things. Recruiting is going to change for a long time. I talked about in the break we're leaving. The NCAA has granted all athletes an extended year of eligibility, which is great, except for now you're going to have 5 classes on a football team, which I'm sure a coach may like that, but as a player, as an incoming freshman, now you've got 4 classes of people in front of you that you got to beat. It's like, wow, it just became really strange.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see more recruits start to look a little bit more carefully at what the roster situation is going to look like. And I don't know, what's going to be interesting to me is a place like, let's use Ohio State or Penn State, for example, a program that typically sends a lot of guys to the NFL. I don't know if you're going to see much change there because they go through a lot of these situations on a yearly basis anyway. They'll have a ton of players that are opting out early to declare for the NFL draft because they can be, first, second, or third round draft choices. But what's going to be interesting is places like Indiana, Purdue, Northwestern, where you don't typically see that. And where I see this maybe having the biggest effect, because we don't know what the NCAA is going to do in terms of scholarship limits here over the next couple of years and how long that's going to carry out. But I think it's also going to affect your walk-on programs, because if you're loading up with more scholarship players, that's going to provide less roster spots, less opportunity for some of these walk-on players. And, you look back at some of these players who previously started as walk-ons, and I was Mitchell Page a walk-on there at Indiana? Or
I believe he was. I believe Mitchell was. He's a great friend of the show. I was watching the game the other night that he was dominating.
Yeah, and he you think about some of these guys who were never given a shot. Kenny Willick is a defensive lineman at Michigan State who went from walk-on and turned out to be an All-American at one point in his career and the Big Ten Defensive Lineman of the Year. So I think that might be where you see the biggest impact. But again, you're also going to see some of these kids, some of these high-profile players take a look at these rosters and say, okay, how many players are leaving? Because I want to get a shot to get on the field as early as I possibly can. And so that's going to definitely impact recruiting here, not just this year, next year, but I think for, like you said, the next couple, maybe 3, 4, 5 recruiting classes.
Yeah, it's going to be now. And you also look at the fact that all these schools are losing money. Some of them are cutting programs. Mm-hmm. This is going to add to the cost of football. This is another class of scholarships that you have to give out. So now this is costing more money.
Yeah, and you don't know where you're going to see some of those scholarships. I'm sure that part of this is you see programs like Iowa, they cut 4 sports. Minnesota, I believe, cut 3 or 4 sports recently. And so you wonder if that's where they're going to try to save some of this money, and they're going to take away some of these other programs that don't bring any money. Because as we've talked about multiple times on the show, football runs the show. Football is the one that pays for a lot of the stuff, a lot of these other sports. So are you going to see programs start to cut other athletic sports programs in order to get more scholarship availability for football? Because that's what's going to drive the revenue. It's a complicated process. I don't know what the finances are. I don't know how this stuff works out. I'm not an accountant, and for good reason. I suck at math, so it would not go well for me. But it's going to have a lasting impact. And we've already seen so many schools across the country, cut staff, have staff take furloughs, cut sports and take away scholarships. And it's not something that's going to be, pertaining simply to 2020, 2021. It's going to extend through for several years, probably, maybe even potentially a decade long. You just don't know. Obviously, some programs are in better shape than others, but it's going to affect everybody.
Yeah, and it's going to be difficult to see how they handle it and if it affects other sports or what that is. But does it help or hurt a team like Indiana? Indiana's still one of those middling teams trying to get up. Does that extra cost of guys in make any difference? Or it's holding on to the guys at the end, I think. Whop Philyor, having a Whop Philyor for another year, I don't know if you get that, but he's the guy to me that is he going to leave or is he going to stay? Because that is the kind, if you can keep those kind of guys, that's like having a senior plus.
Right, exactly. And I think in this case, I think it would help teams like Indiana because that gives a chance, and you bring up a great example with Whop Philyor because he's been an outstanding receiver for Indiana, but he's not also been a big, he's not been a big guy on the draft boards. Right. So, you're going to see, like I said, you're going to see guys from Ohio State. They're going to lose, 10, 15 guys every year, not just to graduation, but going to the NFL draft. There's a bigger likelihood that somebody like Whop Philyor returns to Indiana, not just because he could potentially help his draft stock, but if you're talking about Indiana, you look at the schedule and say, let's say Indiana finishes 4-4, and he says, if I come back, I think we can win 9 or 10 games in 2021. That might be an incentive for him. Some of these guys that may not have much of a hope of getting to the NFL draft, what do they have to lose at that point by playing another year of football? So you're talking about potentially some defensive linemen, some offensive linemen who might come back. So I honestly do think it helps programs like Indiana, Illinois, Northwestern, Purdue. And I'm not going to say it hurts Ohio State because they recruited an incredibly high level every year. But in this situation, the advantage is to some of these middle-of-the-road programs that get an extra year of a guy like Whop Philly or Michael Penix or Stevie Scott or whoever else decides to stay.
I think it will affect teams like Ohio State or Michigan, Penn State, because that fifth class, those freshmen underneath there, they got no shot, none of getting past those All-Americans that are in front of them. And there's going to be a class of All-Americans in front of them. That's more time they have to wait. I think it will impact them more, and those guys will possibly go to other places.
Yeah, you could definitely see an influx in the transfer portal. I think that could be the case, but I think just from the standpoint, I guess my argument would be that they put so many guys in the NFL. Like, you don't see typically guys from Ohio State come back to try to win a national championship. You know, Chase Young, if he came back, Ohio State would be a top, and J.K. Dobbins, if those two guys came back, they'd be a national championship caliber team. Those guys typically go high in the NFL draft, so there's less incentive, in my opinion, for them to return. But if you look at, again, we'll just use your example of Whop Philly, if he's getting a 6th or 7th round draft projection, he may say, you know what, if I play one more season, play a full 12-game season, I have another big year, we win 9 or 10 games, I could really, I could jump up to the 3rd or 4th round. That's a significant, improvement in cash that you're going to get. So there might be some incentive there, whereas guys like, again, Chase Young, J.K. Dobbins, Micah Parsons, the linebacker at Penn State this year, Justin Fields, they're guaranteed 1st or 2nd rounders. So there's not really much incentive for them to improve their draft stock a whole lot if they would return in the 2021 season.
Yeah, so now we look forward to getting to this football season with the Big Ten starting late, October, the weekend of the 24th, 25th in October. We're a month away. We're still a month away from Big Ten football.
I know.
That's unbelievable to think we're still a month away, and all these other games have started. The Big Ten has got a very, very, very little margin for error as far as having to cancel a game or this or that. Or I should say teams of the Big Ten have very little margin for error when it comes to the postseason this year. We don't know how the season's going to be. Tim, texted in that he'd like to see IU in one of the 6 New Year's Day bowl games. How are bowl games going to operate? Bowl games, the whole is to have masses of people coming in from two schools to their towns, to stay in their hotels, eat at their restaurants, go to their bars, buy tickets at the football game. That's going to be cut drastically. You think people are going to fly to Florida?
Right.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
How are bowl games going to operate this year?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because you've already seen, I don't know if there's been multiple, but I know that one Big Ten related bowl game, the Redbox Bowl, has already been canceled. They're just not going to play it. So you may see in some of these states, especially out
about that bowl game.
Well, that's true too. But you could see a limited number of bowl games this season, and that may cut the amount of Big Ten teams that are able to get in. I still think that you'll see New Year's 6 bowl games played. Because at that point, it depends on what the restrictions look like in certain states. But I think that those games bring in so much television revenue that they'll find a way to play them, and there's advertising dollars at stake there too. So even if they're playing those games in empty stadiums, I think they'll find a way to play them. But it's going to be different. We may not see like the Redbox Bowl. If we see a 4-4 Michigan State against, I don't even have another example, like a 3-5 Colorado State, even though the Mountain West isn't playing. I'm blanking on teams here, but that's a game that nobody's going to really care about. But the Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Orange Bowl, those are games that people love to watch. So I think they'll find ways to play them, but it's going to be interesting. There are no, if we've learned anything from this year, it's that there are no guarantees when it comes to sports.
That's a fact. Is the Redbox Bowl, that's the one that's in Santa Clara, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Everybody in the Big Ten just said, thank God, please cancel that game forever. That is the one bowl game that every year, if you're a Big Ten team toward the bottom, everybody's like, please don't send us out there. Please don't send us out there. Nobody wants to fly from here to frickin' California for a bowl game that in a gigantic, yeah. I've never understood that tie-in.
Let me ask you this. let me ask you this question. There are two bowl games that I'm not a huge fan of in the Big Ten. One of them is the Red Box Bowl. The other one is the Pinstripe Bowl in New York. If you had to choose,
with you.
Where would you would go? You'd like the Pinstripe Bowl?
In a heartbeat, dude. It's in Yankee Stadium. It's just because it's got enough difference in the cachet of being in Yankee Stadium and it's the Pinstripe Bowl. It's kind of cool. I like that one. As a matter of fact, I really regret I did not go back in 2015 when Indiana went and got screwed out of that win over Duke. I did not make that trip, but I would go to heartbeat, and I'd go there before I'd go to the Quick Lane Bowl in Detroit. But they need to cut that stupid Red Box Bowl out. That's why the Big Ten has an affiliation with that. I guess it's because maybe they won out on the West Coast or something, but that's just a dumb affiliation, in my opinion.
I'd have more respect. Respect isn't the right word. I would have more inclination to go to the Pinstripe Bowl if it was not in the middle of December in New York. If we have like a Big Ten ACC challenge in football and you split up those stadiums, I'd absolutely go to take in not only New York City but then Yankee Stadium. But there's just no appeal. Of course, this is my Florida blood and now Georgia blood talking. If it's snowing, I mean, I'm out. I'm out anymore.
I get it. And this is probably the only bowl game that I would agree with, or I can think of currently that I would say, yeah, that's okay to have it outside in the cold. Like the Quick Lane Bowl in Detroit, that's inside, obviously. But other than that, yeah, they should be in a warm – your bowl game should be a reward. You should be in Florida or California or Arizona or Texas. Someplace where it's warm for the fans. It's a reward for the fans and all that. And going to Detroit, in December, that is not a reward to anybody. New York, Christmas town in New York, you can kind of swing it and make it fun. But but look, I just hope Indiana is in a bowl game. I hope they have bowl games. It's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out because the experience of going to the Gator Bowl last year for this team was immense. The results sucked, and really, I don't even get on that topic. But going, achieving, getting there, being seen, playing an SEC, all that stuff. Positive. And they need to keep that going. You can't make a bowl game, miss it a year. You got to get in there and start making these consistently. I don't care if they're mediocre bowls. It's got to be a consistent thing.
Yeah, and I go back to what Joe Tiller did at Purdue. He was able, at first it wasn't like Purdue was getting right immediately to the Rose Bowl, right? They had to use their gradual steps. And I don't remember off the top of my head, it was 11 or 12 straight bowl games that he took Purdue to, and it created this standard that, hey, we're going to get to the postseason, and that obviously helps with recruiting. It helps your exposure. You're able to get into some of these other places. They were able to get to Texas, to Florida, out to Pasadena, California. And if you're able to do that with Indiana, especially now when recruiting's even more, nationwide, if you're able to get on national television, you look last year, Indiana, even though they were playing in the Gator Bowl, they had an SEC opponent, which has typically been a powerhouse. I know they haven't been good in 2 decades, but they had that game. That was their date. That was Indiana. They were the only college football game on that day. So even though they lost in devastating fashion, they were able to sell their product in front of a national audience with no other games on. And so they are benefiting not only from the recruiting and the exposure standpoint, but look at how much of an advantage it was this season, knowing that you don't get spring practice, to have those extra 10 to 15 bowl practices that they were able to get. I mean, that helps your program immensely. You're more prepared for the next season if you play in those bowl games, not just because you get the bowl game, but because you get those extra practices. And I think Tom Allen wants to I think Indiana is a team that can consistently get to a bowl game, and there's really no excuse to not. It's going to be interesting to see this year because they might be good enough to get to a bowl game, but may not play in one simply because of the circumstances.
I agree. Bill Mallory did a great job of getting to those bowl games. And back then, you didn't have 1,006 bowl games. And he went to the Peach Bowl a couple times. He went to these bowls because I went to these games. So he had a run, I think, 6 of 8 years. He took Indiana to a bowl game. That is a run that is unsurpassed, unequaled for Indiana. So hopefully they can get back there. Former Indiana football player Tevin Coleman I think he's out with a knee injury, unfortunately, for the San Francisco 49ers, out 4 weeks of an injury he suffered last week. So I wish him back as soon as possible. So, but we've got the NFL this weekend. Games to look forward to. College football continues this weekend, Dustin. The Big Ten yet a month away, but the SEC getting into the fray this weekend. So we're out of time, but I like this schedule. It's like a 1960s Big Ten football schedule. But I cannot thank you enough for joining us, brothers. You do every week. Looking forward to it. Hey, tomorrow on the show, Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com will join us. We'll talk some IU basketball recruiting. Former player Vidal Jones sits in as co-host, so looking forward to that. Go to thehoosier.com for complete coverage of IU athletics. Alec Lasley doing a great job with the basketball side. Paul Gable on the football side, and Saturday edition, of course, Dustin Schutte for complete coverage of the Big Ten. Make sure you go there, brother. It's been a great time as always. Looking forward to doing it again.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be on. I'll look forward to seeing you again next Thursday.
Appreciate it, brother. Go out and have a great day and a great weekend. For those of you, do something nice for somebody. Wear your mask. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.